Welcome.
Welcome.
I am from an undisclosed location on the East Coast.
Yes, you are.
You're in your bunker on the West Coast.
I'm in the bunker. Hey.
So it's actually 1 o'clock. CarYada live at 1 o'clock and 10 a.m.
Yes, it's official. We're national.
Yes, we're running a national show here today.
Yes.
And I did put us up on my channels. I normally have only been putting us up in the CarYada channels. But I thought, you know what, let's do one show early this year where we're on the Dan Rosenberg Facebook page and YouTube channel.
And I'm on my new laptop, which has this interesting camera scanning capability.
Look at that.
Woo! I don't know.
We live in the future.
I'm going to have to figure out if I want to keep it set on that. I don't even know what the setting is. So
I know maybe it doesn't matter. So one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about today, other than, I mean, yes, there's an inauguration happening. Apparently it's too cold to do it outside. But
it's not global warming though.
What's that? It's
not global warming.
No, because they obviously global warming doesn't mean how could it be cold if it's global warming. I have one word, the reason why they're moving it inside. Shrinkage. Anyway, because you've got all these masculine men that are going to be there, you know, Elon and Zuckerberg and Bezos.
And Arnold Palmer.
Yeah. Oh, he already shrunk. Good morning, Adam Jones. By the way, if you have any questions during the show, just feel free to throw it right in our comments.
Yes. Feel free. You can now. Is the text no longer functional? Is that what happened?
Nobody texted us.
No one texted us.
We never got one text. Well, that's your personal. You have your own cell phone.
That's
610 CarYada. I got 0 texts. It was a free service, but if you didn't use it enough, then they shut it off, or you had to pay for it. So
okay.
I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep that one off. But I also want to talk about the car business and how the TikTok ban, if it goes into effect tonight at midnight, if it actually will affect the car industry. There are a lot of influencers, as they're called,
yes,
on TikTok that have been doing a lot of things. And, there's one called Russ Flips Whips.
Yes.
He's out of Pittsburgh. He's just a car salesman who was doing these funny little sketches. And he's selling like 30 cars a month because he's become like a celebrity, and people go all over the tri-state area, go into Pittsburgh to buy cars. There's another guy, Benz and Bow Ties, out of Cleveland. He wears a bow tie and he's a desk manager. And it's the whole show is, the whole stream he does is just his shot. He's got his camera basically pointing at him, and he'll do behind the scenes of what it's like while he's talking to his salespeople as he's desking deals. And he gives secrets and behind the scenes. And, people are now calling him from all over the country wanting to buy cars and have, buy from this Cleveland Benz dealership and have it shipped to wherever.
Wow.
And there's another guy named Tommy who does a thing called Delivered, where for $1,000, he'll do all the negotiation for you. He's not a broker.
And this all happens on TikTok?
He does them live. And he's built his whole business in the last 2 years from TikTok.
Wow.
So there are a ton of people that have built income streams, which means revenue, which means tax dollars.
Yeah.
And they're banning TikTok because they think, because it's a Chinese-based company, therefore they're stealing our information. Well, they've already proven that Facebook, X, DoorDash, Uber, all have more data information than TikTok, all of them. So then they're like, well, it's a propaganda machine. And this is bipartisan, by the way. This is, there are Republicans that are against it. There are Republicans that are for it. There are Democrats that are against this, and Democrats that are for it.
But isn't this what happens whenever new technology enters into the field of governance? Most of the people who have opinions about it are moderately to completely unaware of what the actual technology is doing and what's really happening. And instead, they pick up the general populist view of what people think is happening. And so they start marketing and promoting based on what they think is happening, but it's not actual.
Right. Now,
this is why oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, Ray Pepper is right. They're famous, just like Radical Ray on TikTok, who says every car is a piece of shit. All right, sorry.
But see, that's the problem, is that, and this happened when automobiles were first introduced, and there was no regulation regarding automobiles because they were brand new, and there were no roads. There were no regulations for roads. There were no standards for stop and go, that sort of thing. All that stuff had to be invented, and it had to be made universal so that people who went from various places to other places, they could get to those places and not have to relearn what they needed to know. So it took a long time for the government to catch up with what was happening with technology. And then, of course, technology keeps changing. It's not as though it's sitting still. So that makes it even more difficult. And that's also the case with the internet, because, the internet has taken over and government still doesn't really know what's going on. The experts on the internet do know, and many of them are in the government, but they just don't get listened to because they're speaking practically and they're speaking actually rather than being fomented by masses of people. The unfortunate thing is experts only get one vote. The mass of people with completely incorrect ideologies, they get plenty of votes. So that's our problem.
Right. Now, Dan brings up a point, not me, Dan Lindquist. From what he's read, it's the phone app that's problematic, not the website. Well, yes, the phone app is probably, I would say 99% of how people use TikTok. Most people don't really use the web page as much. That's true. They're worried that it's going to access your phone, I'm going to go live on TikTok actually right now.
Okay.
I'm going to do our show simultaneously. So I'm now live on TikTok.
Okay.
And I'm going to reverse the camera so that
it shows what's happening in China. Is that what happens when you hit reverse camera? Or it could reverse your screen like mine did this morning while we were trying to test.
Yeah, this was weird. Is all of a sudden it shot me off.
Oh.
So I don't know what just happened. Anyway, I guess I was talking too negatively about TikTok. Oh, no, I guess I'm still on. All right. I guess maybe because I was using my phone for my Wi-Fi here. So the issue, I think, with TikTok is, there had those hearings, and you've got these 90-year-old congressmen and senators like, now is it going to steal your Wi-Fi? Can it hook up to your home Wi-Fi? And the guy's like, well, that's how you access the internet.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to hook up to your home Wi-Fi. Well, can it control other things on your Wi-Fi? It's well, what do you mean?
Yeah. But see, this is that 90-year-old congressman is the voice of so many frightened people who don't understand the technology. It's the same thing that people thought that color television was going to radiate in your home. It's the same thing where people thought that automobiles, if you went too fast, if you went faster than 100 miles an hour, your head would explode. And all of these things happen with technology. That when the book came out, the book was technology with printed words. Enough people from the church said this was the work of Satan. And even Satan said, no, it ain't me.
I love reading.
I read all the time.
I love a good Jane Christian novel. Come on. Well, the other thing is,
love Stephen King.
Is the Wi-Fi from the TikTok app going to be affected because it's Chinese? Where do you think the Wi-Fi router was made?
Yeah.
Where do you think your iPhone was made?
Yes, indeed.
Like it's ridiculous. And now Keith Barney here. Keith, how are you? I haven't heard from Keith in a long time. He's watching. He goes, "This is a car question. Other than the mirror issue, how hard would it be to turn the interior of the car 180 degrees around and drive forward in reverse?"
Well, that's an interesting idea. So, Keith, it might interest you to know that clever car manufacturers, custom ones, not major ones, have often found cars that have been wrecked at the rear and the same car wrecked at the front. So they buy both cars, they cut them in half, and they put them together so you get a front car and a front car seamed together, and they both have steering wheels, and the person on the other side pretends to be driving while the person in the front drives until you put it in reverse, and then that reverse coupling makes the other person on the other end drive. And it's kind of a fun thing, although the police don't really appreciate it, even though these guys that have done this have converted the headlights into brake lights, just to make sure that, you know, they don't have problems with traffic. But it certainly surprises people when they are out on the highway driving. Now, there's another interesting.
How about that?
Yeah, that's an upside down truck. This one is famous for driving on major highways and shocking many people. And I think the wheels that are facing up, I think those wheels turn while he drives.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. But you may be able to find a picture of the car I'm talking about. There are actually quite a few of them have been made. They're pretty neat. A push me pull you. Yeah. Oh, Red Green built one, according to Dan Lindquist.
Let's see if I can find that one.
Yeah,
Let's see it on there.
There's no end to creativity when it comes to independent car builders. And we're seeing more and more of that these days, because with access to the internet, people can see what other people are doing in all sorts of different places, and then they can put their particular spin on some of those ideas. And one of the things that's fun about contemporary technology, now that you can get a pretty good car, a used car that's 20 years old, for about $500 to $1,500, there's very little financial risk for taking a chance on a bit of a beater and trying something unique and different with it.
Yeah.
So there was a concept for a car. I can't remember what manufacturer did it. They only built one as a concept, where the interior of the car rotated on a gimbal. So no matter how you steered the car, the interior would rotate around, so that when you needed to go in reverse, you put the car in reverse, and the entire interior rotated and you were driving. So it was built inside like a chamber within the glass and the interior of the car. It was a little weird. There's also a safety concept for a vehicle that has a rotating forward and backward interior section, so that when you are in an accident, the entire chamber rotates forward and then rotates back, so that you're not shocked into the there you go. There's a Volkswagen push me pull you. Yeah, that's
it's amazing, you know. Thank you, Keith, for the subject.
Yeah.
I was thinking what he was talking about, other than the mirror issue. I was thinking of how to turn the camera around so you could drive backwards, like spin your seat around and use the like the reverse camera as your guiding. That's what popped into my head first, was the camera.
I suppose you could, but you have the ability to navigate. Like I think I'm not 100% certain of this, but I think the Cybertruck has that capability, to where you can drive from the screen, not the windshield.
Well, that's the rear window. There's no back window.
No. You can actually drive the vehicle looking out the front of the vehicle. There are front cameras that will show you the front view of the vehicle driving.
I don't know about that, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Ray Pepper says, what's going to happen to Rick the King of Cars on TikTok who sells seminars for $2.99?
God help him.
There's good and bad. So, we're
Before
talking.
you answer
I mean, I'm streaming this live on TikTok as we talk about. We're also on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And there's goods and plus. Now, Chris mentions TikTok is too much misinformation. It's already banned in China itself. We'd be better without it.
TikTok is banned in China.
The version that we have, yes. I think they have their own. Like what we get is not available anywhere else.
Okay. So
And
we got the dirty TikTok.
yes. And
maybe people are right. Maybe the version they sent us is corrupted.
Well, there's misinformation. X has turned into a propaganda machine.
Well, I mean,
Facebook hit. I mean, they all have propaganda.
Yeah,
So
Meta
the thing with
says
TikTok is you do have some entertainment. Like I flip through it for the entertainment. There's some funny stuff on there.
Yeah. Well, and look at Meta. Meta announced a couple of weeks ago they're not going to regulate anymore. They're not going to monitor the any of the stuff the misinformation that's being spread around. I suppose they'll save a lot of money not having to do that. But there you go. And good morning to Janice.
Yes, she says W working right now, which I think she means working right now. I think maybe
unless George W. Bush is working with Janice, which would not surprise me. She's very well connected.
Yes.
Maybe she's got W digging a hole in the backyard for her.
Keith has a good point. Our version of TikTok is authentic as China's TikTok to the same level of our Chinese food is to food in China.
Oh, there you go. Nice analogy, Keith.
Very good analogy, Keith. That is, yes. And Seinfeld has a very funny line. He goes, you go to China, there's no Chinese food. You can't go to a Chinese restaurant in China.
That's probably true. You just go
to the Chinese food. Good morning, Jacob Angel.
Speaking of good food,
please.
I had the delight of popping in late morning to Jake's place for actually went in. I thought I'd just grab a sandwich, and he was there at the grill, and he grilled me a fabulous, unbelievably tasty breakfast sandwich. And I want to shout out to Jake at Jake's Pickup on Bainbridge Island, right off the main highway there. You can't miss it. It's at the Chevron station, which don't be picky. Be surprised the good food you get at Jake's Pickup at the Chevron.
I will say this on record. There's not a finer restaurant in a Chevron station in the world.
I think you can say that with 100% confidence. I think you could even say, and people often, because Jake's not a braggart, but he was 5-star. I think he worked at a 5-star hotel as the chef there, but he was top level chef.
Welcome to Cooking Talk.
Yes.
3 hearts you get. 3 hearts.
3 hearts. There we go.
Now, if you do have any other questions about cars, by the way, each week we get on here, we talk about buying, selling, trading, leasing, credit, blah, 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 blah.
Yes. And technology.
And technology, apparently.
And good food.
Yes. But the question has to be, it's January. We did not do our annual awards yet. We're going to wait on those. We might do those in February.
Yes, and we have to do our CarYada favorites, like our favorite car.
Right, that's the annual award show.
Favorite advertising.
Well, we used to call them the clutchies.
Yes.
So these will be the CarYada, the yada yada yadas.
They'll be the yaddies.
The yaddies. But one thing that's interesting with January is, I always talk about December 31st being the best day to buy a car. And a lot of the experts, quote unquote, especially some of them on TikTok, who are currently working in car dealerships, will say, you know what, December 31st is not the best day. Because people think, it's the last day of the month, last day of the year, last day of the quarter. The year always ends on January 2nd, unless it's a Friday or Saturday or Sunday. It's always the first Monday of January that the year technically ends for the car business. That's why they always extend, if there's a special rebate or a special incentive program, it always ends January 2nd, January 3rd, whenever that first Monday is. Just that's the way they do it. So that is true. I agree with that. But the reason New Year's Eve works is you walk in the door at 6 o'clock. These guys all have plans. They've got girlfriends, they've got wives, they've got husbands, they've got boyfriends that all want them to get the hell out of there to get to the party. You can get in and out in 45 minutes. You can do a quick deal on New Year's Eve. That's the reason. And I was thinking of doing that this year, and I ended up not because I'm still torn as to do I want to get the Ford Maverick pickup truck, which I was sitting beside one on the ferry the other day. It's a good size. It's bigger than the 80s S10s and Rangers.
Oh yeah.
So it's not a tiny pickup truck.
No, it's not.
It's it's longer than my car, and the interior, if you get the Lariat with they're all loaded, it's a very nice interior.
Absolutely. The problem that I think you're going to have with that vehicle is I think you're going to outgrow it very quickly, not in terms of its capacity or its needs, but I think once you're familiar with all of its operational features, you're going to be bored by it because you like your current car. It's got phenomenal acceleration. It's got great interface. It's got wonderful dash and interior. It's a comfortable car, but it's also a sporty car. And I just don't think you're going to find yourself satisfied with that Maverick.
I'm trying to be fiscally responsible.
Who, you?
I know. I know. Ford? and Ray says, no, Mavericks, yacht, junk, cheap. I have not test driven one yet, so I can't
I think
say.
you should drive it. I think you should drive it.
I'm also considering the Polestar 3, and they just announced the Polestar 7.
Oh.
Which will replace the 2 eventually, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Now, the new Tacoma does have a good deal. The problem is the new Tacoma gets 20 miles to a gallon.
Yeah.
The Ford Maverick, you know what the Ford Maverick gets?
I'll say in 40. The 30s.
40? Yes, it's a hybrid. It gets 40 miles a gallon.
Well, that's impressive.
With all-wheel drive.
Do you know why it gets 40 miles to the gallon?
Because it's a hybrid.
No, because you're so bored while you're driving, you never want to step on the accelerator.
Yeah. And I could do, I mean, a Toyota Tacoma is, here's the thing with Toyota. If I get a Toyota Tacoma, I would get it from Toyota of Tacoma.
That makes sense.
Because I go to Tacoma, get a Toyota of Tacoma from Toyota of Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
Toyota of Tacoma. Not Toyota of Tacoma at Fife, but actual in Tacoma. And leasing a car when it's going to lose value, like a Ford Maverick, like an EV, makes sense. Because you walk away after 2 or 3 years, there's no risk. Buying it, 72 months at 0% sounds great. It's free money.
Mm.
And I guess at the end of 7 years or end of 6 years or 72 months, I guess, yeah, that's 6 years. At the end of 6 years, you can say, all right, whatever it's worth, I could sell it for. It might be, it might be worth it, but you're locked in for 6 years. Mm. I like the lease because you're in and out. The lease I have now is amazing. It's a flex lease.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because I made my first 5 payments. I can walk away. I can just drop it off and walk away. But you're right. I do love my car.
I just think you're not going to be happy. You're just not going to be happy with.
But I also don't like having my pickup truck to use for the dump, my car to use for going places, and having have an extra place to park the pickup truck. Plus, I've got the '79 Pontiac from the sitcom. Got to keep that. Plus, I got 2 cars we got to sell. We got to start working on when the weather gets nicer.
But see what you're doing. I've brought this up to people before. You're grouping, and you can't put all of those things into the car purchase decision. It just doesn't work because none of those things are going to make any difference if you're not happy inside your vehicle. You got to be happy in your car. You can say, well, I don't know. I wish it got better miles per gallon. I wish it had this, or I'm looking for a car that does this, and this, that I can also take to over here and also do over to here and also to get. And then you get, the car you get a compromise. It's not the
compromise.
Yes. It's not the car you want. You get just a bundle of things that you thought were going to make you happy. And then you force yourself to drive that car. And it just never works. Get the thing that you really like, the thing that you enjoy, and don't feel bad about buying it. If you have the means to buy a nicer car, it's okay to buy a nicer car and enjoy driving it. It's not a bad thing. If you buy a car that is slightly out of your budget, it's okay, because within a couple of months to a year, your budget will get used to that. And you know what? There's a small window. I hate to say it. There's a small window of vehicle enjoyment that you're going to have that you really are into before you just finally call it an appliance and just drive as a car that you're going to use for whatever you're going to use it for.
Now, this is a guy, by the way, who's talking to me who drives a 250,000 mile Honda Accord from 2006.
That is true. I completely, I'm guilty.
You're a utilitarian.
But let me explain. You go back in time to the Raffi before that leveraged this concept all the time. I had Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Maserati, Ferrari. The list goes on, and I've had I'm very fortunate. I've had some very, very beautiful, wonderful, exotic, luxurious cars and enjoyed driving them. But I can say this because I had that experience and enjoyed it. And I'm more now, for my regular driver, I just want a car that's going to be my appliance. But that soon is going to change because I'm already in the market looking for something that's a little bit nicer, a little sportier, a little more luxurious.
Yeah, Chris is right. Life is too short to drive a boring car. Drive something fun that you enjoy.
Yeah.
1,000%. I mean, that's always been my philosophy. I mean, I owned a DeLorean. I had a Tesla S back before people had Teslas.
Yes.
Pretty crazy Elon.
Yes.
You know, I had the first Polestar on the island, on Bainbridge Island.
Before Fat Elvis, before Fat Elon.
Yes. Now, compromise or car promise?
Compromise. See, that's the thing. And I look, and some people will think of this as kind of a focus on privilege. And all right, maybe it is, but it doesn't have to be an opulently expensive car. You can apply the same theory and the same recommendation to any car. So if you're looking at buying a new Toyota, get the one that you like, or price it out and see if the options you want on a Toyota Camry or an Avalon, maybe you treat yourself to get a Lexus. Yeah. And it's just not that much more. Especially if you're going to be doing car payments and you get a favorable interest rate. We're talking about the car that you really would love to have for the equivalent of a couple lattes per month more. And sometimes, depending on what you want, is actually more within your reach if you sit down, do the numbers, figure it out, and factor in what I call the happiness quotient. If you are happy using your car, you look forward to using it, and so any journey you take in it makes things a little bit nicer. And I think, that's a good thing to do, even if it is a $1,500 car and you decide you're going to spend a little bit more and get a $2,000 car, or a $20,000 car and you decide, you know what, if I get a $25,000 car with a 5-year payment, that's only $86 more per month, and I'd like to have that car. Go for it.
So should I just bite the bullet and get the Polestar 3 when they start doing some crazy deals?
I think you should. And
look at that thing.
It's a great looking car. It's the car that your car started. This is a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, a little bit more advanced. I think you'll like this car a lot more than the one you're in. It's still a very sporty car. It's rippingly fast. I think it's a good looking car. And then the last thing, and I think this is important because there's a lot of technology to learn in brand new cars. You'll be making that transfer a little bit easier because you'll be familiar with your previous car's operational systems.
Now this one's coming out in the spring. This is the 4, no rear window.
Right.
Look at some of these colors they're making this in.
I think I wouldn't get that color, Grandpa Gold. That's a nice color. I also like that kind of slate blue color they have.
This one here.
Yeah, that's a good looking color.
See, I think I might stick with white.
White is white's the new black for you.
Yeah. Go with the leather. I get the plus pack, the performance pack.
For those of you that are deciding if they want a white car, two really important things with white cars. Number one, they stay cleaner longer, so you'll save a little bit more on car washes. Number two, if you're in an accident in a white car, white is the cheapest paint. So your repairs tend to be less expensive with a white car.
Would you do this color match moldings or the black moldings?
Go back to color matched. I would do that. To me, and this is just my designer talking, I like body color throughout the body lines. And I think that's a more elegant look. I also think it's a more, probably a better design overall because it accentuates the body lines a little bit more. With the black cladding, it looks more like a Subaru to me. That's a great looking car.
So that's one of those roofs that you hit a button and it goes frosted, and you hit a button and it goes clear.
Nice.
Does not have, well, maybe it does have the sandwich warmer still.
It should. That's
I think the 3 doesn't. But this is the 4. As you can see, there's no rear window.
By the way, you should not. You're using the term sandwich warmer as though that's actually what it is.
Well, when we did the video, the people from Polestar, I sent it to them, the corporate, they loved that. Like, oh my God, we're going to call it that.
It made sense. This is a little, I don't even know why it's there. It's a little recess, and it's about the size of where you could put a sandwich, and the sun would heat it up.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the 2. They basically have let me go to the interior. They basically have a area where they, like right here, you can see it.
Yeah.
Where they shine the logo up.
Oh.
You can kind of see the logo right there. And you can fit a sandwich in there.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And it's perfect because the sun will heat that thing up.
Yeah. And there are times when I'm not getting good cell signal. I'll just shove my phone in there and it improves my cell phone signal. That's
the sandwich warmer feature.
Yeah. But
I would laugh hysterically if you opened up the manual for it and it actually referred to it as the sandwich warmer.
That would be funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think you should go for it. And
I mean, the 3 is the one that I was ready to pull the trigger because they reached out to me, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
They reached out to me that, I got the generic email that was basically saying, hey, you have the flex lease. If you want to get out of it, obviously you can drop it off at any time. But we've got some great deals on the 3, and it was going to be like $200 more a month for a car that's $23,000 more than my car.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I'll do it. And then I was like, I'm going to negotiate because they're like, we're giving you $12,500 off. And I'm like, no, you're not. There's the federal government $7,500,
which they're taking.
Probably going to go away. There's a $3,000 factory bonus if you own one. So there's a loyalty bonus. There's a $2,000 bonus from Costco.
Ah.
The dealership was giving me 0 discount.
Zero.
So I said, knock 3% off. You're still making money, and it brings the payment where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to do 3%. And they said, no, we don't discount these.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right. I mean, I have no reason I don't have to get rid of my car.
That's true. And that's the other thing too. You like your car, you might want to keep it.
Yeah. Put your egg sandwich in there, Dan.
Oh, an egg salad sandwich, that would really heat up.
Chris says the 3 looks great. He's seen it. See, I've never seen one in person, actually. There's none on the island yet, and I haven't gone in to get mine serviced because, you never take them in. Adam does say the Polestar is so nice. I like the design better. Yeah, if the Polestar had Tesla's software, it would be the perfect electric car. I rented a Tesla 3 about a year ago when I was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Because the software is so intuitive and it's just so much better. The Polestar is Google software.
Yeah. Well, that's like the Apple laptop that I just got. It's a brand new laptop with new technology and everything. It took me maybe 15 minutes to figure everything out on it.
Except the camera this morning.
Yes. Well, that I don't know what was going on there.
That's just a reboot.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But and it's so easy to use. And everything I had on my old laptop migrated straight over to this one. And, all the interfaces are the same. And I mean, there's something to be said for that. Buddy of mine got a brand new Porsche, and they give you the manual, both electronically and as a book. And it's like this thick. And so I told him, take that thing and just keep it in the bathroom for about 6 months. And every chance you get, read a section of it. Or, and I don't know if they have this, but, they should have a training day where
some do.
You go to the dealer and you spend all day there while they train you how to access and use the various systems in your car. When Ford delivers the new Ford GT, they actually bring it to your home, and a team of people come and explain the car, and it takes several hours. And they tell you, when you ask how long will it take, they tell you it takes between 45 minutes and 6 hours, depending on the customer. But that's important because it's a $1 million car, and there's some pretty exciting technology built into that vehicle.
When I worked at La Brea Chevrolet, where the original Tony worked, it's a great day, La Brea Chevrolet. This is Tony speaking. How can I help you?
How can I help you?
This is Don.
Tony.
You added that part. When I worked there, we had a guy whose only job it was to do deliveries. The salesman did not have to do the delivery. We had a delivery specialist. So once we sold the car, this guy would get the books ready, the owner's manuals, the second set of keys, and he would sit down with the customer. He would spend an hour going through everything for the delivery. And he would also make sure they understood the survey. And he would give them a free tank of gas as soon as they brought their survey in, because they were mailed a survey. It wasn't emailed like it is now, a paper survey. And he said, if you bring it back, we can go through it together. We'll give you a tank of gas. So guess what our survey scores were? We were 5 stars because every one of them was perfect, because they bring them in blank. And if they didn't give us 5 stars, he wouldn't give them the free gas. And he would say to them, well, why is this 3? What can we do to make this a 5? They go, well, I don't understand this, or I don't understand that. Sure. This guy, I can't remember his name. He had his own office, but he was the delivery specialist. That's all his job was. And dealerships got away from doing that. They do all these cutbacks.
Yeah.
You have to have that. If I ever owned a dealership, a new car dealership, I would have that. That would be a staff member. That would be their only job. Because figure if you deliver 2-3 cars a day. Oh, Raffi's fading away.
Oh, I figured something out.
Oh, you turned it off.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, that's a little better.
Can you imagine trying to get through that day with all the chatter? Yeah. There'll be some people that'll be like, how do I do that?
How do I do this?
How do I where's my AM radio? With my car doesn't have AM radio.
My favorite is when you're in a group of people. Okay, yes, we have a question over there. So in 1947, when my grandfather came over from Germany, he had a car that, oh my God, get to your question.
Yeah. So by the way, on TikTok right now, if you give us a bunch of likes, that helps. If you're watching, we have a few people watching on TikTok. You're seeing they're actually seeing my screen. They're not seeing the show. They're seeing my screen, and then I'm here. Hi. So I'm just holding my phone up while we do the show. Because
Ah.
if TikTok goes away, at least we have this.
Yes.
Now, Ray Pepper has a really good question for you.
Okay.
To Raffi, the car designer, wife and I, not my wife and I just got locked out of a 2009 Dodge Dakota. It self-locked us out. I want to warm it up from frost overnight. Why do they design the self-locking feature? Now, Dan Lindquist, I think, responded already. But most cars that have like you can like on the remote, like my rental car here, I can hit the button twice. It'll start the car and let it run, but the doors are locked and I've got the key in my hand. The '09 Dakota probably didn't have that. So if you start the car, it is weird that the car would lock with it running, not in gear. Usually you have to put it in gear for it to lock. So I wonder why his 2009 Dodge Dakota did that.
So the first question I would say is that a normal behavior? Because if it's done that ever since it was new, it could just be that it's a technical glitch, and you need to be aware of that. My Honda, you cannot lock the door manually unless you have the key in your hand. So so it prevents you from locking your key in the car. But it could be, like Dan said, it could be a safety feature that is just operating universally. So if you leave your car running, the door locks because it assumes that you're in the vehicle. Because usually when the key is in the ignition and the car is running, they hope that there's a person inside the vehicle. But if you do that, it seems silly that that it would become problematic later. But I'll say this: and I'm trying to remember on the Dodge Dakota. No, that's got an inside hood release, so you can't release the hood and shut the engine off from under the hood.
Yeah, I mean, here's his wife. I'm guessing that's your wife breaking in, or is that AAA?
Yeah,
Using the air bladder and the Slim Jim to try to break in.
Yeah, that is a problem. Yeah, I don't. And also,
well, you have two sets of keys.
That's the other thing. And do you remember? I don't know if people still use these hide a key, which is a little magnetic box that you put another key in and you hide it.
This is obviously a car that Ray's flipping.
Yeah,
this is not his personal car.
Yeah,
yeah, that is a weird design.
That is it, and again, this is not a typical car designer thing. That's something from the features group, and engineering has put it together. Generally speaking, car designers work on the aesthetic composition of the exterior of the vehicle, the interior of the vehicle, and branding, marking, overall. They do work on seating position and comfort inside, material selection, those kinds of things. But most of the technology is developed by the engineering group. The interfaces are sometimes will sometimes involve designers, but for the most part, any of the feature-based details like that have to be done by a team of engineers, because engineers are certified, and designers, design is a non-certified profession because it involves creative processing, and everybody has different ways of solving problems creatively. Engineers, on the other hand, are responsible for mission-critical features on vehicles and products, so they have to have uniform certification in order to perform those details.
Now, I just did a Google search real quick, and it says the Dodge Dakota self-locking feature refers to the feature when the doors automatically lock when they're slammed shut.
Slammed?
If you slam the door harder than normal, it automatically will set the doors to lock.
Do you think that's an anger management?
It might be.
It could be.
She thinks you can turn off that feature, Janice says, because she's got a RAM. And of course, both sets of keys were together. What a piece of shit. Shifter neutral safety switch can cause assorted problems too. Normally, any car I've had that had auto lock was once you put it in drive and you hit a certain speed, maybe 8 miles an hour, that all the doors lock.
Yes.
And Ray says he never slams doors.
Yeah.
He's a happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
I typically, when I do that, when I warm up a car, if it's not a car I'm familiar with, I roll the window down because I'm always afraid of that happening. Even though I'm warming the car up, rolling the window down won't make it, steamy inside by any means, but the car can get warmed up. Also, what's your opinion of warming a car up when it's cold out?
Me?
Yeah.
Modern car doesn't need it. You do not need to warm up a car.
Well, what about the heat for yourself?
For engine operational purposes.
Right.
If you are cold and you want the inside of your car to be warm, that is something that people do. But I always tell people to, when you're warming up your car, get in the car, start the car, crack the windows just a little bit, and then run the heater, because your car is going to warm up no matter what. If you've got a little bit of air getting in from the outside, it's fine, but it also gives you access, if you need to get your arm in there if it auto locks on you. Now, if I'm warming up a car just to get it up to operational temperature to check fluids and things like that, I always leave the door open. I don't close the door.
But this is a situation where the car's all frosty and he wants to warm it up before he gets into it.
Yeah.
Now my car has a feature with an app. I can just hit preconditioning and it's automatically 72 degrees, which is crazy because when it's summer and it cools it to 72 degrees, you get in the car, it's nice and cool. When it's winter, it heats it to 72 degrees and it's toasty. It's so weird that 72 degrees, like this magic temperature that is the opposite of whatever it is outside.
Well, that's interesting because probably the system is reading the ambient outside temperature and adjusting to it. I think for some reason, I don't know why, I set my interior car temperature to 68 degrees. And when it's hot outside, 68 degrees feels cool. When it's cold outside, 68 degrees doesn't feel really warm.
Yeah.
So Jake has the right answer. Just dress warmer.
Yes. And Jake sent it right at 147. Thank you, Jake. Happy 147, everyone. This is the first time we've done the show. It's at 147 somewhere.
Well, that's true.
147.
Yeah.
Now, also, there's a chance Ray did not have an ice scraper and the windows were iced up. You turn on the defroster and you let the car run.
Yeah.
But yes, you do not expect the car to auto lock. Now, Ray, did it auto lock as soon as you closed the door, or did you close the door and it was unlocked and you walked away and you came back and you're like, oh my God, it's locked? And Dan makes a good point. I hate driving with a coat on.
Yeah, I always take my coat off when I drive, simply because it's very restrictive. It also will change the performance of the seatbelt, and it will change the performance of the airbag if the airbag goes off. Your mobility is limited when you're wearing a coat as well. So it's important that you're not constricted when you're driving. And that's another
one of the worst things are people that have zero air blowing in their car, stale air. Yuck. All right, go on.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's always a good idea. People think because their air conditioning system is on that they're not getting maximum fuel economy. Not true anymore. That used to be the case when you had a compressor about the size of a modern engine today, that it would pull down. The modern air conditioning now does not have that much of a fuel draw from your engine. So just use the air conditioning, set the car to the temperature you like inside the car. One last thing that reminded me when I was talking about bundling and wearing heavy coats and things like that. Please, 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 people out there with small dogs, I see you driving with your little dog in your hand while you're driving. Do not do that. Forget the fact that it's a distraction. Forget the fact that it's a problem driving with it. You have an explosive device waiting in your steering wheel. Yes. And if you're holding a dog, a small dog and trying to be cute while driving and having your friends take pictures of you from their car, just understand that if you're in an accident and that airbag goes off, it will kill your little dog. It won't hurt it. It will kill it, because that airbag is inflating at 200 miles per hour. And within a millisecond, it's going to impact that dog, and your dog will literally die from the impact in your.
And it could kill you.
And it could
a dog's spine going through your sternum is not probably a good thing.
That's another thing. It could also kill you. But see, it's more effective to tell people who have dogs they love that their dog will die than it is to tell them they could potentially die. Because people say, I'm not going to die, because everybody thinks they're immortal. But if you point out the fact that their dog could die, they're more likely to say, well, I should probably not do this.
Yeah, we have a seatbelt for our dog. She wears a harness. She sits in the back seat.
Yeah.
She's got a little bed. My other dog, the late Ruby, I used to put her in her crate in the back. Yeah. Which some people were for or against, but that's how she'd like to travel.
Well, and also
always in the back, no airbags.
It's just, look, I that's my pet peeve with people with dogs. Just don't hold a dog. Pet peeve. And we want to pause while I explain why. But please do not clutch your dog and drive, especially people are already, I tend to tell folks that they pull their seat, the power seat, they raise it up very high, and then they move very close to the steering wheel. And then you can see they're 6 to 8 inches from the steering wheel. This is not a good driving position. Forget the fact that it's not safe. It's very, very problematic if that airbag goes off, because it's not reached its full inflation safety cone, where it can grab you because when you hit something, your body force is moving forward and that airbag is moving towards you. So what happens is, as your body is compressing against the inflated bag, the bag gets this sort of tipping point where it's now cradling you, and then slowly, with the rest of its inflation, pushes back slowly in microseconds to the seat, so that you're not whiplashed. You're actually cushioned into that Goldilocks zone where it's holding and decelerating you and then pushing you back as it presses you against the safety of the soft, cushiony seat. Now, if you are too close and it explodes, you don't have that cushion, that zone of safety. You want to be about 10 to 12 inches. 14 inches is even better from that steering wheel point, so that you're not potentially too close. And if you say, well, this is how I drive, just practice, move the seat back half an inch for a week, another half an inch for a week, another half. So slowly, little by little by little, you get used to driving a little further from that steering wheel, and you will. Yeah. It's just a much safer thing to do.
Yes. By the way, Ray Pepper announced they did it. They got in. That'd be $225. Ray and Betsy's lockout service. We always get you in.
That's it.
There you go. Congratulations. During the show, we got to have that happen. That was exciting.
That's great. And you know what? These guys are worth their weight in gold. Anybody who comes out and does emergency service like that, they are worth their weight in gold.
No, Ray did it himself.
Oh, Ray did it. I thought
Ray and Betsy's lockout service. He and his wife got in.
Well, then there you go, Ray. You ought to start that as a sub business. You and your wife can go out and.
Now, Dan Linquist says short people need to be closer to reach the pedals.
Now that is also true.
You can adjust your pedals.
There are some cars that have adjustable pedals, but you can also, believe it or not, shops will make you pedal extenders. They'll extend the pedals, or you can get pedal pads that increase the pedal distance by I think up to 3 inches. So I've actually seen 2-inch pedal pads. They fit the profile of the pedal pad completely, and they move the pad up. Now, it used to be that you'd need it for your clutch, brake, and gas pedal, but nowadays, really all you need it for is the brake pad. And you can get pedal extenders. They don't have to extend the armature. Sometimes they will install a different armature to make the pedal itself, the whole pedal assembly, come forward. But you can get a pedal extender that will move the pedal up.
Dan's mom needed a 2x4 block on the clutch to reach.
Yeah.
Janice says she was the first one to see an accident where a tiny truck, like Isabel's old Beat 2200, T-boned a car. 5 people crawled out of that tiny cab.
Well, and what's interesting, if it's a modern car, the crumple zone in a modern car, the safety cocoon in a contemporary vehicle, has been designed with crumple zone engineering that maximizes the delivery of forces. So as the front of the car is crushing, the metal is crushing and reducing the forces that are translating to the cockpit. So by time those forces reach the area where passengers are, that crumple zone has little by little reduced the strike force so that by time it gets there, it's minimized. And so that whole zone for the automobile is more protected, and it doesn't matter as much the size of your car, the exterior of your car compared to the interior. There's a great video that shows in slow motion a 2009 Chevrolet Impala crashing into a 1959 Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows the difference, because the people, you would think the people in the 59 Impala survived because it's such a big vehicle, but there are no crumple zones on that. So all of the energy gets delivered to the passenger compartment, whereas in the modern engineered vehicle, where all those crumple zones, front and rear, and also to a certain extent side as well, helps reduce the impact to the passengers. Same thing with airbags, safety restraint systems, side airbags, all kinds of things.
So I flipped the camera back around just so it's on me, because it looks like they're not TikTok stopped putting this out for people to watch when I was just holding it to the screen. So now they're getting 2 sides. Now the show's almost over somehow. It's 1:57.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened. But the question I was going to ask just totally left me. Janice does say that the truck was a really old Nissan truck. They had 3 people in the seats and 2 behind the seats.
Wow.
They had people really jammed in that little car. That's a bit of a distraction. But going back to the very thing we started with, and that is enjoying what you drive.
Yes.
I used to tell people, and we'll do gas prices before we end, because this is the final weekend of gas prices. We can memorialize them and see how they change over the next
with the new administration.
Yes, new administration, new gas prices.
Yes.
But my question is, when I taught traffic, I used to always say, if you drive a car you hate, you'll drive angry. There's more road rage with crappy cars. And I bought a car one time. They were doing a 0% thing. This was 2001 or 2. I got a Monte Carlo. It was 2001. I got a Chevy Monte Carlo. And they had a $1,500 upgrade, like from the factory. You could do leather seats or upgraded wheels. And that was included. I went with the leather seats.
Of course you did, because that's the right decision.
I see the seats. I enjoy the seats. If you can improve the interior of your car versus the exterior,
yeah,
I think you're always doing it. I think you're always doing something better.
Yeah.
The exterior is for everyone else. The interior is for you. So I chose the leather, and I had these gorgeous black leather seats. I mean, it was this fine Italian leather. That's all. If you're watching on TikTok, we're doing the show live, by the way. There's the show.
And again, if you're ordering a car brand new and you've got the money to do this, treat yourself to, like you said, treat yourself to the convenience package, the interior package, get leather interior, get the very best you can afford on the inside of that car.
Yeah.
The outside of the car, if you want to have special wheels, or the nice thing about that is you can always go back to the dealer and say, I'd like these wheels. It's a very easy thing to change. You can't go back to the dealer and say, I'd really like this interior, because it's very, very difficult, almost impossible to change out the interior. So if you get the things that you really like on the inside of the car, those are the things that are hard to change. The exterior stuff, you can always add a spoiler. You can always add carbon fiber trim. You can always change out your wheels and tires. All of that stuff can more easily change. You can even change the paint, not by repainting it, but just wrapping it with professional vinyl wrap, which is anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000. And that's a great way to go. It also protects and preserves your paint, because within 3 to 4 years, you can have it professionally removed and there's brand new paint under there.
All right, before we do gas prices to get out of here, Ray lets us know you can buy this Dakota at Affordable Used Cars in Bremerton, Washington. In 30 minutes, it'll be there. It has 2 sets of keys. You'll need
them. What's your price?
Yeah, is there a price on it, Ray? All right, we've got gas prices. What's our lowest, Raffi?
I think our lowest this week is in Oklahoma, and I'm going to go with $319.
You are wrong. Oklahoma is $272 right now.
Jeez,
it's not the lowest. The lowest is Mississippi, $268.
Oh my gosh!
Mid-grade lowest is South Dakota. What?
How'd that
I've never seen South Dakota on this list before. 307 is South Dakota for mid-grade, and the cheapest premium is Oklahoma.
Oh my goodness, South Dakota.
And the cheapest diesel also Oklahoma. That's crazy.
Wow.
This car is available for $79.99.
That's not bad if you need a truck.
Yes. Just remember, it's self-locked. It's got that bonus feature, self-locking.
The self-locking feature. South Dakota, I graduated from UCLA in 1983. Friend of mine was an electrical engineer. He studied electrical engineering, moved to South Dakota because he got a job working at one of the electrical power facilities there. And his rent in an apartment, wait for it, $130 a month. And
wow.
And so he worked there, and he was being paid $28,000 a year. So $130 a month was nothing. So he worked there and stayed in the apartment while he looked for a place to live, bought a house, sent me a letter. Back then, you stayed in touch via the US Post Office, sent me a letter. I bought a house, $6,000 for the house. He paid cash.
Meanwhile, Polestar 3 is $87,000.
I know, it's insane, just insane. But everything is more expensive than it used to be, and dramatically so.
Yeah.
So,
and there's more computing power in my phone than the computers that sent the spaceship to the moon.
Oh yeah, there's phenomenal amounts of computing power. There's more computing power between the last phone and the new phone than there was in the computer. Just that delta of change between the two. Yeah. And unfortunately, you can still get a Domino's pizza in 20 minutes for one of those phones.
All right. Well, you guys have been awesome. It's been great. It's been super fast today. Yeah. Please like, please share, please subscribe, so we can keep this going. We did do TikTok today for the first time. Didn't do that well. But I don't have a ton of followers on TikTok, and I didn't really set it up properly, and just did it because why not? It's the end of TikTok potential.
Sure. All right. So, well,
next Saturday we should be back, and we should have our awards. Maybe.
There you go.
The Yadas.
The Yadas. The Yaddies.
The Yaddies. All right. That's all. Here's the song. Da-da-da-da-da-da.